After the storm of emotions fades, what remains is silence, thick, tense, and heavy with the weight of everything that was left unsaid. She doesn't text first. Not because she doesn't want to, but because she can't bring herself to. Pride stands in the way, building invisible walls between impulse and action. Every time her fingers hover over your name, there's that quiet voice inside whispering, don't do it. Let him come to you. So, she waits. She scrolls through old messages, reading them like chapters from a book that once made sense, now filled with half-remembered meanings. She checks your profile, hoping to see anything that could break the silence for her. But you say nothing. You post nothing. And that emptiness begins to echo. At first, she believes she's in control. She convinces herself that holding back gives her the upper hand. She tells her friends, if he wants to talk, he will. But deep down, every second that passes feels heavier. The quiet becomes unbearable. The absence starts to take shape. It has weight, texture, and sound. It hums in her chest when she tries to sleep, it lingers in her mind when she's laughing with others. There's a strange power in your silence, it unnerves her. She can feel it, though she won't admit it. She starts posting subtle hints, a lyric, a story, a memory disguised as something casual. All of it carefully constructed to make you notice, to provoke a reaction. But nothing comes. You've taken away the response she once relied on, and now she's left facing her own reflection. That's when it hits her, the silence isn't between you anymore. It's inside her. And it's growing louder every day. You don't reach out, and that's when everything inside her begins to shift. What she thought was confidence starts to crumble beneath the weight of your silence. She checks her phone more often now, not because she expects a message, but because hope has become a habit she can't quit. She replays the last conversation in her head, dissecting every word, every pause, trying to find the moment things started to fade. She tells herself you're just busy, that you're giving her space, but deep down she knows something's different. Your absence isn't random. It's deliberate, and it unnerves her in ways she can't explain. She thought your attention was permanent. She believed she could pull away and you'd always chase, that your emotions would bend and follow hers like a tide drawn to the moon. But this time, the tide doesn't return. You've done something she never prepared for, you've gone still. And that stillness terrifies her. It makes her wonder if you've finally seen through the illusion, if you've realized she was feeding on your attention more than your affection. So, she tries to regain control. She starts to post things meant for you to see, hoping to stir a reaction, to remind you of what you're missing. But when nothing changes, doubt begins to creep in. The same silence she once used as a weapon now feels like it's being used against her. She starts to question everything, your feelings, her own worth, the story she built in her head. What she doesn't realize is that your quiet isn't revenge, it's peace. You've stopped fighting for a connection that only existed when you were the one holding it together. And in that calm, you've become something she can no longer predict, and that's what truly unsettles her. Days turn into weeks, and your absence begins to wrap around her like a shadow she can't shake. At first, she tries to convince herself that she's fine, that she doesn't need you, that she's better off without the tension, the uncertainty, the waiting. But the longer your silence lasts, the louder her mind becomes. She starts to remember the way you spoke, the small things you said that used to make her feel seen. She scrolls through your old messages late at night, pretending it's just nostalgia, but deep down she's searching for signs, anything that proves you still cared once. She begins to replay every moment, every detail of the last time you were together. The tone of your voice, the way you looked at her before things went quiet. And in that replay, something shifts. What she once dismissed now feels irreplaceable. She realizes you didn't need to shout to make her feel safe, that your steadiness was the anchor she took for granted. Now, without it, she's adrift. She tries to distract herself, new faces, new conversations, new places, but everything feels temporary. Every smile is compared to yours, every voice feels too loud, too eager. None of them match the quiet confidence you carried. She doesn't want to admit it, but you've become her measure of peace, the standard that others can't reach. And that's when she begins to feel it, that loss of control, that helplessness she once thought belonged to you. You, the one she assumed would always chase, have vanished into your own stillness. And the more she tries to ignore it, the clearer it becomes. The power has shifted. The silence that once belonged to you now holds her captive. The silence stretches into weeks, and she begins to feel the distance settle into her bones. It's no longer just the absence of words, it's the absence of your energy, your presence, your steady attention that once made her feel secure. She tells herself that you're playing games, that this is just another test of patience, another round of who will break first. But deep down, there's a tremor of uncertainty. Something about your quiet doesn't feel like a tactic, it feels like peace. And that realization terrifies her more than any argument ever could. She starts to rationalize your distance, telling herself stories that make her the victim, because that's easier than admitting she lost her hold on you. She begins to overanalyze everything: the last words you spoke, the tone of your last message, the timing of your replies. Every small detail becomes evidence in her mind's desperate trial for meaning. But no matter how hard she searches, she finds nothing. Your silence is clean, precise, untouchable. It gives her nothing to fight against, and that's what breaks her the most. So she tries to reach you without really reaching out. A story with a familiar song, a post that hints at regret, a late night like on something you shared long ago. She tells herself these gestures are harmless, but each one is a quiet plea for attention. You see them, but you don't respond. Not out of malice, but because you've finally learned the difference between connection and attachment. She's trapped in the very silence she once used to control you. It echoes back now, exposing the cracks in her pride. For the first time, she realizes that your stillness isn't weakness. It's strength, and it's something she can no longer influence. One night, when the silence becomes unbearable, she finally gives in. The tension that's been building for weeks spills over into a single, hesitant message: hey. Simple. Casual. But behind it lies everything she's been holding back. The pride, the longing, the confusion, all packed into that one word. She stares at the screen for a long time before pressing send, her heart pounding in that space between fear and hope. For a moment, she feels relief. She's broken the silence. Now, all that's left is your response. Minutes pass. Then hours. Every notification makes her heart jump. She checks your chat over and over, waiting for those 3 little dots to appear, but they don't. You've seen the message, and you don't rush to reply. When you finally do, your tone is calm, grounded, distant. No emotion, no tension, no hint of the old chase. Just stillness. She reads your words again and again, trying to find warmth that isn't there. That's when it hits her: you've changed. You're no longer the man she could provoke, no longer the one whose peace she could shake. You've detached, not out of anger, but out of acceptance. The version of you she remembers, the one who over-explained, who waited, who cared too much, is gone. And in his place stands someone she no longer recognizes. Her message, once meant to reclaim control, becomes a reminder of what she's lost. The silence that follows feels heavier now, colder. For the first time, she realizes she's no longer the center of your thoughts. The power she once held has vanished, replaced by a quiet truth that pierces deeper than words: she no longer affects you. And that is what truly breaks her. Your silence was never meant to punish her. It wasn't revenge or manipulation. It was the moment you finally chose yourself. After everything, the endless explanations, the misunderstandings, the cycles of being seen and then ignored, you realized that peace is not something you ask for, it's something you protect. So, you stopped chasing closure from someone who was never capable of giving it. You stopped pouring into a space that only echoed your effort back at you. And in that stillness, something powerful began to shift inside you. You started to see things clearly. You began to understand that strength doesn't always roar, sometimes it's silent. Sometimes, it's in the quiet act of walking away without needing to be understood. You no longer seek validation in her reactions or reassurance in her attention. You've learned that the person who truly values you will never make you question your worth through silence or games. And as that truth sank in, the weight you carried for so long began to lift. Now, when her name flashes across your phone, it doesn't trigger the same rush of emotion. You respond when you choose to, not when you're pulled to. There's no anger, no bitterness, just clarity. She can feel the shift, even if she doesn't understand it. The warmth she used to draw from you has turned into something calm, controlled, unshakable. You're not the same man who needed her attention to feel alive. You've become grounded, balanced, complete on your own. She might think you're being cold, but the truth is, you've just found a peace she mistook for distance. You didn't walk away to win, you walked away to heal. And in that healing, you found yourself again. She begins to see things differently now. The distance that once angered her starts to reveal its meaning. The more she reflects, the clearer it becomes. You never pulled away to hurt her, you stepped back to protect yourself. You weren't trying to control her, you were trying to understand her, to meet her halfway, but she kept mistaking your patience for weakness. And now, with time and silence, she sees the truth that pride had blinded her to. You didn't leave because you stopped caring. You left because you finally realized your peace mattered more than proving your worth to someone who couldn't see it. Every man who enters her life now carries a shadow of you. They may speak sweeter, act faster, or show off more, but none of them hold the quiet strength you did. None of them listen without judgment or love without conditions. She begins to notice the difference, the way others react out of insecurity, while you always responded from composure. The way your presence used to steady her, not suffocate her. You've become the silent comparison she can't escape. She tells herself she's moved on, that she's healed, but your memory lingers in the smallest moments, in the way she hesitates before texting someone new, in the songs she skips because they sound too much like you. You've become a reminder, not of what went wrong, but of what was real. She'll never admit it aloud, but somewhere inside, she knows she lost something she might never find again. You've become her mirror, a reflection of what she took for granted. And as she looks into that reflection, she realizes too late that you didn't change to get away from her, you changed to return to yourself. Time moves differently now. The chaos that once filled your days has faded into quiet clarity. Your silence has evolved into something deeper, stillness. It's not emptiness or loneliness, it's peace. You've learned to sit with your own company and find comfort in it. The urge to explain yourself, to prove your intentions, has disappeared. You no longer need anyone to understand your side of the story because you've finally understood it yourself. What once felt like loss now feels like freedom. You've stopped measuring your worth by who stays or leaves, realizing that real strength is found in the moments when no one is watching, when no one validates you but yourself. Meanwhile, she begins to feel the contrast. She sees the life you're building, not through words, but through your calm energy. You're not flaunting your growth, you're living it quietly. She senses it in the way you no longer react, in the way you've stopped trying to be seen. Your distance isn't cold, it's peaceful. That's what unsettles her most, the realization that she no longer has access to your emotions. You've become unreachable, not because you've closed off, but because you've evolved past the chaos that once connected you. She's haunted by the simplicity of your peace. The more she tries to recreate what you had with others, the more she realizes it can't be copied. Your stillness has become a mirror to her unrest. You've become something she can observe but never touch again. And though she might never say it, she now understands the truth. The calm she once mistook for weakness was the very strength she never learned to keep. You are no longer her storm. You are the peace she lost in chasing control. Now you stand at the end of it all, but it doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a quiet resurrection, a return to yourself. You've walked through the ache, the silence, the confusion, and emerged softer, stronger, and far more grounded than before. You no longer carry the need to be understood. You've stopped rehearsing what you would say if given the chance, because the truth no longer needs to be spoken, it's written in the way you live. You've outgrown the chaos that once felt like love. You've outgrown the need to chase closure from people who are incapable of giving it. Your peace has become your proof, your silence your statement. She still thinks of you, not constantly, but often enough for the memory to sting. She wonders how you found calm without her, how you learned to let go without bitterness. What she doesn't realize is that letting go wasn't easy, it was necessary. Every unanswered message, every moment of restraint, every night you chose peace over reaction, it all built the foundation for who you are now. You learned that sometimes healing means disappointing the version of yourself that wanted to stay. You've discovered that detachment isn't indifference, it's power. It's choosing not to lose yourself in what you can't control. Now, when you think of her, it's without resentment or longing. Just gratitude for the lesson, for the growth, for the reminder that love without respect for peace is chaos disguised as passion. You move forward lighter, clear-headed, unburdened. The silence that once hurt has become sacred. Because once a man learns that peace is his greatest form of strength, no heartbreak can touch him again and no past version of himself can pull him back.